Hello, hello. We're starting the second day of our PropTech Innovation Camp. Grateful of you to come. Today we are starting off with a panel discussion on the data and analytics in PropTech. I expect it to be a very interesting one, as it was yesterday's. Afterwards, we will have a workshop today and mentor hours and networking. So another work day ahead. And have a good day, everyone. I'm going to invite Gintara Urbanovic, our moderator for the panel. She's the head of planning and analytics at Svantegård, and she will be leading our panel and presenting our fantastic speakers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome here at Rocket Hub. And today we are going to discuss data collection and analysis, how it is a big power for the real estate. Myself, am engaged in real estate data collection for already about 20 years. And working at Svantegård as a company providing facility management services for the real estate in Lithuania, Latvia, and also we have engineering project in United Kingdom. Today we are going to start from the presentation of Magnus Svantegård, and he is an expert in the real estate for more than 26 years. Professional in data collector and establishment of the companies of the real estate, and he is going to share experience from the company establishment, what lessons we have to learn, and how to develop the business, and to use the data, how a big, powerful instrument. So, stage is yours. Welcome here in Lithuania.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Olga and the crew. Just waiting to have the right presentation up here. So, quick backgrounds. My name is Magnus. I've not been an expert for 26 years. Thank you, though. Hopefully I am today. It's up to you to decide. So, who are you? As I mentioned, so I've been in this since my last year at university, so 96. So it's quite a few years, and it's PropTech been around for much longer than that, so we don't trust anyone. So which means when I started, internet looked like this. So this is the Alta Vista web browser. Some of you may have read about it. Nowadays, I'm partner at Stronghold Invest, and I don't think it's too well known here in the Baltics, but hopefully the company at the far left corner is, especially in USEC, one of the largest or the largest commercial property advisory firm in the Nordics or Northern Europe. NIAM is the sister company, spun off from Newsec about 15 years ago, and NIAM is a private equity for real estate funds. So they've raised a number of funds over the last 20 years, and they do direct investment in commercial real estate. I don't know any of the holdings as of today, but previously they had quite a lot of holdings here in the Baltics. I'm more part of the digital part on the left-hand side. I'm on a team where we are 3 people looking at the digital part, and that's where we're focusing today. Previously, I've been at Stronghold for 3 years, employed, but I've been in the Stronghold group for 22 years. So Dacia was actually a spin-off from Newsec, and was under the ownership of Stronghold Invest for 19 years. And I was head of product there for 19 years, which means that I'm not a founder, so I'm not an expert in that. I have the highest respect for every founder. I'm just a founding employee. So very quickly before we run into the learnings, what is Dacia? Still is. We sold this company 3 years ago, but it still exists. This is 24 million properties. So it started back in Sweden in the mid-90s, expanded to Finland and then to UK, and actually yesterday they went live in Norway. And this is a few screenshots from the UK market. So you can use the map and drill into central part of London, click on any property, freehold or leasehold, and on your left-hand side you can see the owner, the direct owner, and the ultimate owner, so the total company group. Type of building or property, size, assessment records. You can click on the property, you can see on the far right corner the property borders, additional data about that specific property. You can click on the owner and see that, okay, Prop Invested Limited owns 29 properties, but they're actually part of Hold Group Limited, who owns 48 properties. So you can go up and down in every single portfolio, including municipalities in those countries. And you can get a summary of all the properties, how many are residential, how many are commercial, industrial, and so on. I still say we sold it 3 years ago, but I spent 19 years there, so excuse me. We resell market information from different consulting firms, so Newsec, but also competing agencies. So this is Cashman & Wakefield's market information for Gothenburg. So they draw the different sub-areas, the tie rent, vacancy, and yield. This is all the latest transactions in the Nordics, updated on a daily basis. Who is buying what commercial property? And there is also a valuation tool, discounted cash flow method. So you add a property, all the basic data is put in the DCF, and you can then alter and calculate a monthly discounted cash flow model. So it's pretty much the Bloomberg screen for commercial real estate. Roughly carry of 60 million euros as of today. And Stronghold did an exit in 2019 when we sold to a US-based company called Real Capital Analytics. That then 1 year later was sold to MSCI. So, Stronghold. We're focusing on nowadays on the digital real estate. So take a few steps back, and when I'm meeting with quite a few founders or early PropTech companies, and also corporate companies that is trying to innovate, I normally do a presentation of a few thoughts. I'm not saying that you should learn this. It's just my reflections of my first 26 years in PropTech. Every story is different. This is just the story I experienced. So first of all, this is especially for all corporate people trying to do innovation. Don't listen to clients. You need to understand them, and that's a hell of a difference. There's all those classic examples, but this is really, really important, especially for corporates here. You just don't go out with a pen and paper, meet a few customers, and build, and that will be a successful company. You can do improvements that way, but not new, innovative stuff. Hard truth. Second, much more to all the entrepreneurs and startups, don't overtalk about disruption. We always love to tell that we're going to disrupt the residential agents or whatever. That's a classic one. And all industries are talking about disruption. This is Mercedes 2015. There should be those on the streets 2022, self-driving cars and stuff like that. And we love to hear stories like this. But it normally ends up like this. And there's nothing wrong. I love those guys. However, talking about disruption and that the commercial real estate market is a TAM of 17 trillion US dollar. It's perfect numbers to throw around when you're meeting with a VC with limited industry knowledge. If you're meeting with investors and people in the industry, maybe downplay that, because that is not a TAM. That's the valuation that's the value of all commercial properties, and that's fine. But it's not a TAM. 3, be humble. Try to work with the industry. Be slightly aggressive and slightly, but not overdo it. don't say that you will disrupt the entire industry. That's fine if you do. But try to work with the industry, because it's very hard if you tell the people you're trying to sell to that you should replace them. That's not the easiest play in the game. And quite often, PropTech companies tell me, the commercial real estate market, they're not innovative. They're not forward-leaning. Well, you haven't met the deal makers in commercial real estate. They are for sure innovative when it comes to finding deals and financing them. They are not innovative and leaning forward when it comes to tech solutions. Because the last 20 years, why should they? They made a fortune doing business with pen and paper. And that's the biggest challenge for commercial real estate PropTech solutions, that the client so far hasn't been in too much need of being more efficient. That's a challenge, but it's changing. And moreover, you're probably not the first one trying to do something. This is a book from the UK called RICS. RICS is the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. It's a volume printed in 1966 where they're talking about computer prop, where it's obviously that this will revolutionize the estate agency. That was printed in 1966. But I'm pretty sure you have better timing, because timing is a very big thing. 4, the famous MVP. And it's very commonly said that you should really try to push it forward. I would say that if you release a product to B2B, you should release it later. The MVP needs to be MVP 2.0 compared to B2C. We did this mistake in Finland when we launched 2010. We really went to the market with the MVP. The problem was not good enough, which is always, you can blame the definition of MVP. You can say it was not an MVP if it was not good enough. The problem with B2B is that you can run around with a sales team of 2-3 people and meet pretty much the 300 biggest commercial property owners in Finland in 2 weeks. If the product is not good enough for them to buy, they will not meet you for another 18 months. It's not like B2C. You can do a test on 1,000 people. You still have a few millions to sell 2 weeks later. So MVP later in B2B than B2C, if you ask me. 5, there's always all those different ways to build something great. It doesn't need to be the classic founder team. Dutch had for the 19 first years. We have no founder. We had 6 CEOs. We have 5 different CTOs. And we hired the first marketing guy after 17 years. We had no founder. It's a crazy story. Very hands-on. I meet very many tech companies, and including PropTech companies, that go to a lot of different events. And I love events. I love conferences, internal and external. I love Ricotech that's going on in Finland as of today. But as a startup founder, you really need to understand that you need to go to the right place for the right reason. I would say Ricotech is a large PropTech event in Finland going on today or tomorrow. The day before Slush, or Slush, tech event Slush. You shouldn't go and have a booth, I would say, at an event like that if you want to sell to end users, because they will not be there. Maybe 5-10%, fine. You should go to Ricotech, have a big stand if you want to meet potential partners in the PropTech industry and scare off other PropTech companies because you have the biggest booth, you have the most money, the biggest team there, and also do recruiting. If you want to sell to the end users in the commercial real estate, you should go to Nippon in Cannes, Expo in Germany, or the equivalent here in the Baltics, where they're discussing transaction, rent, and interest rates. Because that's most probably where your end users are. humble about timing. Dutch is very much about timing. It's almost scary, and there is no thought process whatsoever. This is the dot-com boom in year 2000. Dutch closed the one of two funding rounds 2 weeks before the dot-com crash. We bought back the stocks 1-2 years later for a penny, and we sold the company 2 weeks before Corona broke out in China. Scary. Being one of my favorites, I've done orienteering for, 25 years. So I'm an endurance guy. Have grit. This is the Dutch revenue and profit in Swedish crowns, so divide by 10 roughly. The hard years were not in the end, it was those years. So short story, we raised a bunch of money just before the dot-com crash, spent everything on external consultants within 6 months. We're down to a team of 6 people for quite a long time, and we're just grinding around for about 6, 7, 8 years. No big numbers, no big profit, just grinding. And then in the end, it started to become much more profitable. So starting from 2010, we had about €1 million in profit, and we started to invest that in going to Finland and UK. So that's why the result went down. So those were the interesting years. For many, many years, just grinding around. Number 9, this is a tough one. Every real estate market is different. It's just unbelievable how much it differs. So even if you look at, when we start looking at going to Finland or especially the UK, on another, they have properties, they have property owners, they sell and buy properties, they do valuations, they have consultants. Just go there. It can't be that different. It's different enough to become a headache. So really spend time to really try to understand how if you're selling a service to real estate valuers, how does it work in UK or Germany? How many are they? What service do they provide? What does it cost for evaluation? What is included in evaluation? And so on. Because every market is very different. And its reason is because it's one of the oldest industries, and each industry has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's quite amazing how much it differs. Another challenge I learned the hard way is that the Northern Europe is the perfect storm in a way. We have data, structured, good quality, we love tech, and then you go to UK. In 2018, when Dutch had 100 companies on the client list in UK, and those were commercial property investors and agents. They were people in suits. 10% of the invoices was paid with paper check. Paper check. 10%. In UK. UK is a banana republic, if you ask me. I thought as a Swedish company going to UK was like, okay, now we're going to Champions League. Will be super tough, super fast, highly competitive. Well, it was highly competitive. It's just a banana republic. Trust me, especially when it comes to property data. Number 10, and the last one. This is a tough one for many tech startup. This is the number of full-time employee developers in Dutch. So there was a big bump here year 2000 where we had close to 20 full-time developers for 6 months, all consultants. Then it went down. For quite a few years we had 2 developers, 2-3 developers. So that's the number of full-time developers in Dutch. This is the full-time employee salespeople. So roughly 1 to 1. And I think it's very hard to say why something succeed or not succeed, but I think one of the reasons why Dutch has succeeded was that from very early on we had real salespeople, And when I say real salespeople, it's that we deliberately hired people with no real estate background whatsoever. So the first three we had in 2001, when we really started to jump up, was a former Xerox sales guy, an insurance trader, and a shipping broker. Working with those people were a nightmare, trust me, for being an engineer. They were a good laugh, but a nightmare to work with. But they closed the deal, and that's the difference. An engineer go to a meeting, it was a good meeting. For a sales guy, it's either close the deal or not a good meeting. So hire salespeople. That's it.
Thank you, Magnus. Any questions from the audience? Okay, I have a question. So with your experience at Dacia, are you going to transfer it to Newsec here in Lithuania?
That's a good question. Newsec actually has a Dacia competitor in Norway. But I would say that Newsec is an advisory firm. And that is their main purpose, without question, is to be an advisory firm, not a data product. Then there is always an overlay and kind of a gray zone, what you would deliver. And I think that is also a challenge to data companies. Nowadays, it's so much easier to create a simple data product that I believe that many normal corporate ventures would actually create. And you can see that from the large players like CBRE, GLL. It's so easy to sometimes just create a data platform and just give it away for free as a marketing tool. So that's a threat to property data companies. Dacia was actually looking at the Baltics like 15 years ago, but we decided to not go here. We thought that data was good, but that the different land reg was providing quite good service to the end user, so it would be a tough competitor. So we decided to go to Finland instead and then UK. Right or wrong, I don't know. That's another topic.
Thank you. So please take your seat on the stage. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
One question for Moody's. Could you specify in more details what's the difference between classic real estate, you have Newsec, and digital real estate?
Classic real estate, for Newsec, they sell advisory by the hour, pretty much. Or Niam is a direct owner of commercial real estate. The digital real estate, as we do in this separation, is the software, is the tech layer above. That's what but it's a very good question. It's harder and harder to tell the difference between if a company is a tech company, like a PropTech company, or not. Because nowadays every company need to be very forward-leaning, maybe need to develop their own internal tools. So it's very hard to say what is what, actually. And I like that. I don't care if it's PropTech or not. I love the digital part of it. Because the more, for example, there's a large valuation firm in the US. They're actually selling valuation services. So they sell a value report on a building. But they have 80% of the people are software developers. So they develop their own internal valuation tool with data and functionality, but they don't sell it as a software service to any other valuers, just for their own valuation team, which then charge the client. So is that a PropTech company or not? It's not. They don't sell the software. They still sell a paper product in the end.
Okay, thanks. Other question, I saw it really fast you were sliding. Do you have information in the platform? About the entity operational costs or something like this?
Dacia? Just to be clear, we sold Dacia 3 years ago. Dacia includes data on the cost side for operating a commercial building, but that's in order to use it for the discounted cash flow model. But that's very much just overall market data. It's not the cost specifically for this building, but maybe for the, if Dacia was in Vilnius, you shouldn't have specific data on the cost side for this building, more average. A newly built office building in Vilnius, it's roughly 30 euro per square meter a year or something like that. So very...
It includes energy maintenance cost.
Yeah. But then as a user, to do the valuation, you can update that data set if you have better information. But to be honest, from a market value perspective, that is not a big driver, unfortunately. It's the rent income and the yield. But that's another topic. Yeah.
If you may share, it was very interesting to see the graph where you put the columns of the results of Dacia, the financial sales and the revenues and so on. There were a couple of jumps, like big steps when you jumped in revenue. Could you comment, was it new markets, was it new functionalities, what was it?
Good question. I have to say, yes, there were a few jumps, but consistently over almost 20 years, I would say that Dacia grew between 10 and 20%. So it was very boring, year by year, which then rent by rent calculated gets quite interesting after 15, 20 years. The jumps there are pretty, I can't remember it now, but I'm pretty sure it was 2011 was quite a big jump because then we launched into Finland. So that for sure increased the revenue. We had a large platform update in 2008 that also pushed the jump quite forward. And I didn't have that on the learnings. All the tech people here, it's the version 3 of your product you really need to nail. The first one is really scrappy, hardly works. Hopefully enough to get the first client or the first financing. The second one you rebuild within a year or two. That needs to work, but barely, because you don't have, it's when you do the third version, maybe year 3 to 5, please try to nail that one, because you will live with that for 20 or 30 years. Trust me.
Okay, thank you. So please take a seat.
One more question, the more inspirational one. Thank you very much for inspiring presentation. I really like your format, how you put it, and I think that you seem to be the best person to ask the question: what is the next ingredient to come to put the data-driven businesses to the new level in the PropTech industry? By saying secret ingredient, I mean regulation, innovation, or some technology, or maybe some legal aspect. What is the next thing to come to boost it and to drive it to the new level?
Good question. Super simple answer, if you ask me. ESG. Because like I said before, the commercial industry haven't had the need to change or become more digital because they're making a fortune, having time of their life. I mean, on an overall perspective, different assets and slightly different markets, but overall, ESG and sustainability will put a pressure. It doesn't matter if the owner of this building is the value just increases, everything is fine, zero vacancy, highest market rent in Vilnius. It doesn't matter because if they go to the bank and they want a green bond financing, they need to improve maybe the AVAC efficiency here and so on. And they need to report those numbers, not on a daily basis, but maybe on a monthly or quarterly. So they can't do that on the office package standalone. They need to connect the properties. They need to have a data management system, take care of the data. And that first report is super expensive because they hardly know what assets they own, trust me. If you go to any large commercial property owner, in the meeting, if you're sitting with the CEO or head of property, they will hardly be able to show you what assets they own And who are the biggest tenants? True story. I met thousands of them, including in London, the biggest funds. They hardly know the assets. They are normally impressed when I show the Dacia company portfolio structure for their own company. So ESG is perfect because we put so much pressure on not just ESG reporting, but so much more in the commercial industry. And they hate it, but I don't care. They need it because it's regulation and cheaper financing. And financing is everything in commercial real estate.
Thank you. So please take a seat here on the stage. And I would like to invite on the stage Saulė Gabrielė Petraitytė, the advisor for data analytics at Lithuanian government, but also she is a co-founder of DataHood, GovTech Laboratory Lithuania, experienced specialist professional at Open Data for Lithuania, where actually I myself am very interested. So welcome here on stage.
Good morning.
And one more very interesting speaker here on the stage, so Julianas Galeckas, please welcome on stage. One more professional in real estate market here in Lithuania for more than 17 years or more. And he is co-founder of Untu and also establisher of the Remax here in Lithuania. So welcome on board. And after we have listened for the tips and tricks from the Magnus, from the Sweden, so Julianas, where for the moment Lithuania real estate market is?
Where?
I will join you.
Where you mean by more?
With data collection, data analysis, data usage. From these 10 tips and tricks from the Magnus, do you see that we are using them? We are going over these stages here in Lithuania?
Maybe overall, I would say comparing to many countries in Europe, at least in residential, we have amazing data. Yeah, it could be better. It always could be better, but we have really good data, comparing even to countries like Germany, Spain, Italy, the same UK, and Ireland. I know countries where it's still done in paper. You know, you're submitting and nobody knows how many transactions happen, where happened, for how much happened. It's very messy. So our register system, property register system, it's really advanced in not only in data, but how it's being completed. You know, that you can go to notary actually, I don't know, next day. Theoretically, this is in many countries, it's impossible. And I think this is where we are in good standing. Yeah.
So real estate is like the market could be digitalized 100%. So for Lithuania, we are going on the right way. And for Sweden, Magnus, about real estate transactions, deals, is it digitalized, or as Julianas mentioned, do you still need to go with papers to investigate the data, paper data, or it is everything on internet via online data?
Yeah, that's an interesting. It's really, when we talk about the real estate market, we really need to make a difference for the residential single-family market, single-family houses, apartments, and the commercial side. On the single-family, it's quite surprising. In Sweden, there's a whole profession that is missing, and that is notaries. If you buy an apartment, co-op, or a single-family house in Sweden, you don't go to a notary. The real thing is that you only use the buyer's agent. They do all the paperwork. It's like 4 contracts You have a final meeting where you kind of give over the keys and do the final transaction with the bank on the phone through the agent. That's it. Everything is, I mean, it's still a few paper, but very limited. All that transaction data is available on the residential market. So that's why there are no values in Sweden when it comes to single-family houses or apartments, I would say, or less than 5 people at least. That is purely AVMs. The banks do just, if I call the bank for a new mortgage, I just give them the name of my building, and they do an AVM calculation in a split second, and they will tell me this is it. On the commercial side, it's slightly different. When it comes to title changes of ownership, it's pretty much directly registered in the land reg. The problem, though, it's an opportunity for the large investors. They don't want to pay stamp duty tax, which is like 3-4%. They rather pay lawyers to avoid paying the stamp duty tax the same amount of money. So what they do in Sweden for commercial real estate is that you don't buy the property. You buy the entity owning that property, which means that in the land reg, it's the same entity. It's the same VAT number like a special purpose vehicle company. There's actually no record of those deals. So Dutch a few years ago started to manually collect that type of data sets. So that's an improvement that could be done, but it's no, I would say the Nordic land register is much better. Well, I mean, Northern Europe, including Baltics, is a much more quality level of the data they're updating and the quality. If you go to UK, it's 50 years behind. They don't know what the database is, if I should push it.
Saila, as you mentioned that several years ago you were working with open data for Lithuania. So what was the process, and is it still developed? And do you see the future for the open data and for usage of them?
Yeah, so open data was probably one of the first projects I worked with in public sector. And already back then, which was like 3 years ago or 4 years ago even, was already a topic that was so last year. And when I came to the government and said, okay, I'm working on open data, everyone said, yeah, but it's already like past, we have to move forward. Although I still believe there are so many things to work on open data. And yeah, as colleagues mentioned, we are quite well digitized in comparison to some other countries. And it's nice that within the governmental sector, you don't need to tell people what's open data in general. Like, of course, there are data sets that are still under the discussion if they have to be opened or not. And there are some data sets that are in not that good quality. But in general, I believe that it's already quite developed in terms of open data. So now it's just processes. Some agencies are better in opening, some agencies are worse, like always, like everywhere. But yeah, now, 3 years later, I'm not following that topic that much, so I cannot comment what exactly today we have opened, but I believe that there are people that are working a lot on that.
So, Juliane, I exactly wanted to ask you, as Untu owner and company Untu, is it using open data? Are clients requiring for this open data? Are they easily available to use in your platform? Easily to involved in your data systems, and what problems are you facing?
I think you can see from my face, but it's not. We're not using. I'm sure there is something we look through, and we always kind of see, what it's available. But in my opinion, in most cases, this is just a PR, and looking from a perspective of business and what data we really need. Somehow, historically, that that one line it's missing from big data set. There's 50 lines, but one line it's missing, which has a 95% of value, and then it's enough to make a PR. We opened this much of data, this many lines. This is how many terabytes of data? Bullshit. in most cases, it's bullshit. And when you go and asking for that, can I have that line? Oh, it's just, one more line. No, we can't. Or they don't understand, why this is so important. And even if somebody at the bottom would understand with that line it's important, it somehow gets stuck up. That's mean I don't have any I'm not putting any big hopes on open data.
Yeah, if I may add, you probably talk about the register center. This is the only one you work with, so yeah, open data is not only register center. I believe there are many different fields, but I totally agree with register center. We have this problem that they see that their data can be monetized, so they want to sell it. I guess that's the biggest issue when we talk about property data, real estate data, when we talk about register center. So I also see it as a big issue, but I think it's not only about the maturity of if people understand that data is necessary. Of course they understand that it's necessary because everyone wants to buy it. So they see that it's valuable, but then I think it's more about political decision if we can give it away or do they still want to make money, and this is the decision that we're still incapable to make.
Yeah.
So where it is the bottleneck? Maybe it is a field for new startups, new companies to develop.
It's a conflict of interest, because if we're talking about residential, we are in conflict because register center can monetize the same data, but actually he's not the owner of any data. He's just kind of holding the data, but he makes the money by selling the data sometimes back to the same users. Like notaries have a transaction data kind of ownership because they registering the transaction, but then they paying to register center to complete the transaction and get the data back. It's just by seeing this interest of conflict, I don't see any way around. It's just a mess.
Yeah, but probably you're buying that data, right? So it's not open, you just pay for it. But I think that's I was also a bit in this field, and I was thinking, should it be for free? I mean, when it's your data about your.
We want to buy, but not all data is available. Either to buy or it could be crazy amounts.
Yeah, because after I quit working on the open data, I had my own small startup when we were also using both open data and big data. So obviously we also needed data from Google Maps, let's say, and from Google Maps you also have to pay and to buy this data. So it's not only that government is making money out of the data they collect about you, it's also private companies doing this. So I think it's kind of normal procedure, but then we have this question if the government should do this, but of course they say they have to get finance for the data they maintain and so on. So yeah, I believe it's quite a big political discussion over here.
So what I'm hearing from Juliana is that business or customers are ready to pay for the good quality data. And what we've discussed with Magnus, that in Sweden, these good quality data are not free of charge. You need to pay. So, and is Lithuania ready for this? And for example, how process went in Sweden regarding tax or some fee on the good quality data?
Yeah, open data is a discussion in Sweden too, and as a taxpayer, I'm all for open data. It makes all the sense. As a business, both back at Dacia time and nowadays, the cost for me is not the problem if I can create a valuable service and actually create revenue on the other side. I almost rather pay for good quality data than crappy open data. And when it comes to the property data that, for example, Dacia acquires in Sweden, it's an interesting catch-22, because all the politicians talk about open data and they want to push that. However, a few meetings later on, within the ministry, they realized that the Swedish land reg has seen the opportunity to make money out of selling data since like 30 plus years. So the Swedish land reg makes about 40 million euros annually in income by selling access to property data, which means that that politician now either have to make land reg to save 40 million euros annually and give it away for free, or give an extra 40 million to that ministry, so to say, to run it. And you don't win election to provide open property data, unfortunately. So everyone talks about it, but nothing has happened for the last 15 years. And I'm kind of scared that they instead make it free and the land reg has to save money. So they lower the quality, they lower the proficiency of the service. So I'd rather pay for it. But yeah, it's a complicated situation. And in some other data sets where the state agency don't have any income of the data, then it's easier to release the data. But I always laugh at those. You have rankings for open data in Europe, and Sweden is quite low. But compared to England and many other countries, they have some not very usable data sets for free, but they charge for the more usable ones, and quite often the quality for those open data, I mean, going to land reg in UK, the quality level is so low, it's just shocking. And they still rate higher than Sweden. It's well, open data, yes, but not from a data perspective. So it depends what you're talking about.
What I also learned, there's a quite big gap here in Lithuania, at least, between municipal data and government data. So government is big and slow, and it has many organizations. So as I said, it really depends on the organization you want to get that data from. But then there's municipal level, and for us, at least when we were working, we started our pilots doing here in Vilnius. So it was way much faster to deal with rather than just going to the government and trying to get open data from there. At least, like, I think you should, I don't know what you're doing here, but I mean, if you need open data, try to get it from municipal for your pilots, because it can be much faster, even if it's not open yet. My practice with working here in Vilnius was you just write an email to them, and 2 days later, here you go, you have it. So it's very good starting point, as long as you don't want to pay for data and you're just testing out.
Keith? Yes?
Maybe one more comment about the pricing. It's when you're dealing with, private equity, it's kind of simple. It makes sense, the pricing. You can make sense. When you deal with the government, then for that one line, you could be paying like, 10,000 more than for the next line. I mean, like, you can have a full sets of data and a kind of pricing from the register center. It's based on keeping the data and supporting, on the, how much it costs to sustain the data, But when one line costs, for example, we need square meters of the property. There is address and how much is square meters of the property. If we want to get that data for Lithuanian properties, it would cost me around 660,000. But it's just one line from that data set which is available. Just understand. And of course, it doesn't make sense. 660,000, and then update would cost me €1 or something every time.
I think the biggest the challenge when being a private-owned company in negotiations with its state-owned or government or municipality is it's so different when it comes to the driving force. As a private company, you want to create revenue and profit. For the person on the government side, it's easy explainable. It's to avoid mistakes, because they will not. If they create revenue in the market, that will not help them in their position. It's more to avoid problem. So that's, it's kind of a collision when it comes to, because if you're meeting two commercial companies, if we could create a win-win situation, we have a deal. But it's very hard to create that one when you have two different sides of the equation kind of in negotiations. And yeah, you don't really understand each other. And yeah, it's a lot of frustration.
Okay, so open data is like one of the part of the data available for the building, for the premises. But what about the idea of collecting data from the scratch, from the beginning, from the architect's project until the total data panel or total data file for each building for making decision to buy it, to sell, to rent it? What about such idea?
I would say the biggest PropTech company in the world is probably CoStar, US-based. I think they have market cap of $16 billion US. And they created pretty much all the data from scratch. So they have a research team of 1,000 people in the US. They have some 150 people in UK. So they really try to create all the data in their product from scratch, going up. It's extremely costly. But they have managed to do that, especially in the US. So you really need, if you're a retail agent in the commercial market in the US, you really need to have their products. They have created a monopoly with the data sets, which is from their standpoint, from their market value, perfect. But it's very costly, unfortunately. But but I think the starting point should not be if there is open data or not open data. The question is, will the end user be able to, are they eager to pay for the data? Then if it's open data, if you buy the data, if you collect it yourself, that's a separate discussion. Start with what is the client eager to pay for.
So what about such idea here in Lithuania? Is there a need in the market for the whole data collection, from the beginning of the project, the cost of the project, the development, the construction, the surrounding community, to have all the information related one on another particular building? Is there a request from the clients, from the customers, for residential sector, for commercial sector? Maybe it is a new business line for the new startups, for the new PropTech companies?
I think first you need to have some kind of idea how you're going to use it. Yes, like Google Maps did collected data in every street, yeah, by filming, and again they have an amazing product and something of their own and invested a lot. I had many ideas in different stages of developing Unto, and we have a lot of ideas, but it feels like Lithuania market, it's too small for these kind of investments. You know, I cannot imagine, maybe people from here, they can, create an opportunity, where you would be investing in this messy work, and which keeps changing. So it needs to be updated, even with the commercials. If you want to have a data about the building, you want the data about the square meters, what it's available, what kind of spaces there are, what kind of sizes of these spaces. They keep changing very often, so you would need to update, and I don't know, it's just very, very complicated. So I wouldn't see, I'm not seeing now, but involving people, involving kind of crowd sourcing data in more effective way, not hiring 1,000 people to go and get the data, but I believe in the projects where it's being crowdsourced. I don't know, ways, like crowdsourcing information about the traffic, and this is available to everybody and makes the product a lot more creative. So I would suggest these kind of solutions where you can crowdsource, involve people, because there is at least 1% of people who would be willing to invest their time to give something back. Yeah, and this is why I see the opportunity for this kind of data collection project.
This is exactly what we used when we were working with DataHood. So just quickly, we were working not only with real estate clients, but also with businesses and companies, and we're doing analysis about locations. So not about real estate, how square meters, but more about the location, where it is located, what kind of population, what kind of people flow, what's the traffic around. So all this data, which is more towards big data probably, but also crowdsourced as well. So we also try to incorporate OpenStreetMaps, and we tried Google Maps. So yeah, all these things. But what I found from working not with companies, but with real estate clients, what I found that they were already willing to pay for small amounts of, for some specific locations that they were interested in, but the reason they wanted to buy analysis of specific location was not mature enough. I mean, they didn't want to make data-driven decision, but they were coming with, for us, with specific site already chosen and said, hey, we need to convince our client, can you please tell us good data stuff around this location? And that was when I was really, really frustrated, because I believe, okay, so we are already digitized, we have data, we understand that we can use it, but then the reason we use it is just to back up our decision, which is already based by either experience or intuition or whatever, just good business case. So yeah, you have to be careful in that, because we had a few clients like that, and we did have to take them because it was business and they were paying money. Although those who wanted to back their decision with data, like in the beginning, they were willing to pay less. So, you know, when you're business, you have to make this balance. So I think, yeah, we're digitized already, but then how we use this data is not the best case yet.
So, okay, we have, but do not have open data, detailed data from the beginning of the project until the final development is too expensive. So where should we go? Where should we focus with data collection and analysis? Where are requests from the clients? What are their needs? Juliana's, your experience, your ideas, where Antu is going to develop and to satisfy the needs of the clients?
I believe these guys who's sitting in here. I don't know, maybe from our perspective, how I looking into data and what is my vision for Unto, it's to empower people with data, to help them to make right decisions. And I mean power, it's not, inform them, like tell them, this is what's happening, this is what is prognosis, but actually to empower, I mean to educate, to understand, to make it usable, to understandable, I don't know, infographics and specific data which could be used by him, and this data would make him more empowered to make his own decisions. But he would be not potentially manipulated by anybody. Yeah, like he would be able to not just to access the data, but really to understand how it could help him to make a decision and get more informed. You know, that's mean I feel the power with the data, and how to do it. It should be business model created on that. If you get the money and you sell whatever your client asks, or it's not the same. But this is separate talking. Yeah.
I'm convinced that the level of data-driven decision, even if it's coming from a very low margin, so to say, will increase, and there will always be opportunities in the field. The challenge is to find them. It's not that they're looking, it's easy to spot them, but it could be that you take the same data that is available, but you make it a different business model, you make it a better UX, you make it easier to access, to use. You have people that are better to explain how the client can use them and get the benefits from it. Or maybe you can add a slight data set that is manually collected to be the kind of the icing on the cake, and it will different from the other players that just have the open or public available data sets. There's always, luckily, and especially in the commercial real estate, always an opportunity to create something new. It's never easy to spot on beforehand because then someone else have done it. So it comes with those salespeople, for example, to actually sell it. Because the clients will almost never ask for it, if I'm honest, that's my opinion. They could ask about improvements for an existing service, but nothing completely new. I mean, at Dacia we had those kind of client, when we kind of advisory boards, where we brought big clients to a conference room, and as a head of product, I really believe we should do it because you should VIP your clients, kind of talk now or be silent forever. But from a product roadmap, I completely hated those occasions because if I put 10 ideas on the table, they will vote against 9 of them clearly, and the 10th they were maybe, but no, most probably not. But we had the financing to actually do 5 of them, and 4 of them normally got a great success. You can't really ask the client what you should do. You should try to understand what they need. And that sounds easy, but that's the key thing in product management, if you ask me.
Yeah, I may add on that. It is very important for client not only to provide data, as we thought, okay, so we crunch a lot of data, we show nice visualizations, and we show everything about the location, all the people flow numbers and so on, nicely visualized. But that was absolutely not enough, because client sees everything about this location and then another location if the client wants to compare. But then the question is, so what? Because people are, like, I thought that if I give data nicely visualized or I don't know, extracted for them, they would be able to make decisions on their own. But actually they're not. They still come and say, okay, so what do we see here? What's the advice? Should I open here or should I open there? Does this mean that there will be more clients in here or in here? So that's what I learned in 1 year, that it's not enough just to provide data. You still have to provide service to explain that data. And I don't know if it was only in our market, or maybe when your client is a bigger company that has their analytics, like their own analytics, maybe it's easier because those analytics can be doing themselves.
When it comes to data, one super important thing to actually grow revenue and clients that is using the data on an ongoing basis is to try to figure out a data set that is changing quite often. Because the problem, if you have more overall data that maybe changes every year, I mean annual or maybe every 5th year or so, you can actually buy a sweet spot of that data, and then you don't need to update the data for a couple of years. And that's a nightmare if you sell a subscription model. So you should always try to find a data set or something in the model that is updated on a daily basis. Like ownership, for example. That's perfect because that changes all the time. There's always transactions there. Much more on the resi market than on the commercial side, but it's still something. So some sort of real time, which is to say month in the commercial industry, data sets. That's the issue.
And talking about Dacia experience, was it more focused on the capital real estate market or also widespread in the region, other municipalities?
That's maybe one of the biggest surprises for people, even in Sweden, that see that Dacia is still growing like 15% annual. So they maybe add 100 companies on the client list every year, which is quite surprising if they've been in the market for 20 years. I mean, how can you grow So one of the biggest success stories was that Dacia was not only sold to the biggest investors, because the biggest investors are not the best customers, because they buy normally one massive property every second year for like €1 billion. Which means that, and they have so much data, they pretty much have a list of what they want to buy. It's like 20 properties, and then they just contacting that owner every second month to sell it. So what Dacia managed to do was to actually attract the mid-sized property owners, the mid-sized value firms, the mid-sized resi agents. So in each small municipality, I mean in Sweden there are 290 municipalities. Dacia have users in roughly 220 of those. So pretty much every city, the local real estate guy, the big agent in that town pretty much has a Dacia license. So Dacia in Sweden has roughly, I would say, 1,400 different companies on the client list. And the bulk of the mid-sized market is, the total revenue from that part is much bigger than the large investors. Because the large investors only bought one license or maybe two, but the small broker still had to buy at least one license. So they paid, equivalent to the revenue, much more than the large players. So that was one of the success stories for sure.
And what about Lithuania? So digital data are available for Vilnius, Kaunas, and their regions, and in municipalities and countryside, it's like more neighborhood, speak-to-speak advice, and some just physical appearance in the object to investigate it. What about digital data in smaller towns and districts?
What it's related to residential, I believe we have all the data the same in the big city or in the small cities, because again, it's coming from the same source. So this is not an issue. Maybe I would speak about how data could be used, not only monetizing, what Magnus was saying, but maybe just exchanging in values, like what I mean by that, it's what we do with Unto. We're giving all that data, which is pretty unique. We give to customers valuation, free valuation of the property, which being updated every month, and we give transactions which happened in his neighborhood. In Vilnius, we're still managing to do even in what building block of the building transaction happened. That's mean exact address. But our payment, it's kind of registration, and our business model, we generate leads for the real estate agents. We have a platform with over 100 agents from different agencies. We have a rating system for those agents. It's pretty sophisticated system, but we kind of lead. It's a customer, potential customer who wants to sell a property. We're not contacting every client, but those clients who are saying, yes, I'm thinking about selling, we're offering first free consultation from the professional agent, which we selected, yes? And we get 30% from sale if transaction happens. We have a fixed model as well, but it's, there's different ways to monetize. Yes, I can charge, I don't know, €2 per report. We have around 260,000 reports already issued, and we have evaluated, I would say, 30% of Lithuania. We have contacts of 30% of people, owners in our database. We have a big database of our own, and what to do with that, this is a nice headache to have. Just presently too many ideas, but it's not about going and directly monetize. Pro users, like businesses, yes, they could be monetized, but we had ideas at some stages, but it's too too time consuming, and we would lose the focus if we focus. It's the main thing, at least for us, and for, I believe, any startup.
Yeah, since we were working not with this state register data, that for us, there was quite a difference between municipal and other regions of Lithuania. So what we found that, in Vilnius we know everything, but then once we need to go to, Ukmergė, then it's quite a headache to find out what's the traffic in there and so on. So, I believe that data provides, location data especially, provides you the beauty of knowing the place without going there, which is very good advantage if you, want to open the same coffee shop or in the other city that you don't know and you want to understand where's the flow, where are your clients, then it's very nice to back up your decision on data. But then at the same time, it's quite hard to scale up because it really depends on the data you use. Therefore, my advice is always to use that data that covers the region you want to work with. So for example, we were trying to partner up with Telco, which is operating in the regions that we're interested in, or you can go with Google data, so you have more or less everything. So try to consider that, because otherwise you can end up working only in Vilnius if you count only on Vilnius data.
So talking about client satisfaction, I have read in Magnus' presentation that Dacia NPS was 97%. And what about, Julianas, your company's remarks and two? Have you made NPS research, or have you insights from the clients about their satisfaction, about the possible reports coming from Onto or possible in the market here?
I'm not involved with Remax anymore. I sold the company.
But from the history, from your
history,
background.
Your question is about the quality of
client
the data
satisfaction,
and client satisfaction. It's very important. But again, our experience, again, from Unto, when we asking how you perceive the evaluation you received, we didn't ask this before, because we know what it's kind of, we have the data to back it up, and in his case, it's his mostly, his feeling, his gut feeling, or what neighbor said. A neighbor always adding on the price what he sold for. So, but we still asking, and it's I believe valuable, because when we're asking to put a smiley, how you valuing the evaluation, and add the comment. So what is valuable for us is to receive feedback, to listen, and in many cases, yes, we did some improvement because there was some mistakes, or data missing. He's saying, oh, I have a terrace, and which is 17 square meters, but it's not in our valuation model. So yes, it's good to listen, but satisfaction and I think it's around 86 or 87%. But we could improve, yes. A lot of time.
If you create a product, I think client satisfaction or client support is one of the ways to actually differentiate yourself to competitors. At Dacia, we focus a lot about support, training. We quite early on started to hire customer success managers who went out and met with the client. No upsell whatsoever, just helping them to make the utmost of the product. We printed manuals back in the days, and all training, all support, all those meetings were free of charge, because we knew that if they started to use the product, they would stick using it. We could see that from the data, so it was very easy for us to calculate and cover the cost, because if they started to use the service and got quality answer when they called us, they don't quit the subscription. So it was, very straightforward. But I think that's for sure a way to position yourself on the market, is to have good client relationship support and so on. That's, yeah.
So,
And the more kind of efficient, offensive salespeople you have, you also need client support managers that actually know the product and can help the client. Because those guys and girls will just hunt the deals.
so there is no magic to get 97 NPS rate.
There's for sure luck and timing, but it's also just boring, hard work for a long time. That's the sad truth. Well, if you don't like that.
Saula, if you compare your experience in the government sector right now and private as startup establisher and to profitable business development, so what is the kind of experience? Is it similar? Is it completely different? And from these points, from the government and private, looking at the real estate sector, is it the same or is it completely different?
Well, I think it really depends on specific subject. There are things that are similar, and then there are things that are very different. I believe the major difference is the speed, because when you're a startup, you can build and fail, in 1 week. When you're government, it takes many years. And there are many other people involved, many politicians, many public involvement, so you cannot just decide and go for it, even if it looks very obvious. You have to do a lot of due diligence. But when we talk about real estate, now I'm government, I'm not working with real estate, therefore for me it's hard to tell, but I believe, we heard was the position of register center, which is quite upsetting, but I don't know what to say about this, because I believe still it is a political decision, has to be made, because I believe there are people in there working that probably understand the value of this data, but then even if they would be willing to share it and open it, they wouldn't be able to do it without a decision from higher above. So but basically, I think when I was a startup CEO for 1 year, it really depends on the personality, but when you're a CEO, you have so many things to overlook and so many things to deal with, and growing and sales, and you have to do everything, which I liked. But now when I'm, what I was mostly struggling with was how to get the data that I need. And I know that there's a lot of interesting data, both in real estate and not real estate, which is very interesting, but we don't have access yet. So now, when I got an opportunity to join the government team and to work with the data that I knew I would never have access to, now I'm super excited to be in this position. But I think, in my case, I worked in government, then I worked for private sector, then I worked again for government. I like this change, and you have things to learn from both. So it's very nice.
And when talking about different sources of data, I think one that could be super interesting for the startups today, that is actually to combine the public available data or collected by yourself with the internal data within the client for just that client's purpose. And that's a big challenge, because most people don't have the database structured in a database. It's gathered in Excel spreadsheets and email and stuff like that. And the one who solves to combine those data sets have a very interesting market for them. It's not an easy one, but it's a big topic.
Okay, so as it was predicted, the time is running very fast. So maybe any questions from the audience?
I have one comment. I believe it's very fashionable now, but I believe it's reality. It's AI, and we could be having a lot of people and going manually or trying to create some simple models, but to get working for you AI, I think it's amazing. Actually, I did one test today. I don't remember. It's OpenAI. There's some how you can create pictures or the AI could write you text. Yes, and there is business model. You can pay 30 euro, and it can write you amazing articles and all of that. It's becoming reality. This is my experience. I can touch that. I can feel that. That means it's not something. What it's in the future. It's here and now, and combining and teaching and getting access to those. You don't need to buy this huge computer and create something for yourself. You can just use the service, and maybe this is the opportunity, what Magnus was saying, how you can combine clients' data, which you can put in and combine your data, put in, and you can have an amazing product or solution for the customer. So embrace AI.
So, any questions from the audience?
Audrus, my name. Magnus, you mentioned that next big business or deal in property will be ESG. Do you have any thoughts or ideas how digitalization of this process related to ESG reporting could help? Because you mentioned that it's quite expensive and regular reporting process. Could you a little bit elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities for external companies to help the property owners in that process. It normally starts with ESG reporting to either financial players outside of the company or to the board, to the LPs of the fund. So it starts with quite an overall ESG reporting. The problem, though, for the property companies is that they need to have the data structures of what assets do they own, what's the energy consumption per building, per month, per week, per day, per hour, potentially. So there are a lot of, just starting with data management and connecting properties. All the properties are connected, so to say, with fiber, so for internet, but it's not connected with the AVAC systems and the heating systems and so on, in order to create those more advanced ESG reporting. So there's a lot of things to do there. And it's quite interesting. Norway is really picking up on the PropTech scene the last couple of years. And there's quite a few quite interesting ESG startups in the Norway for the property industry. So Varig is one, Again X is another one. The ESG reporting itself is quite interesting, but it will kind of spin off and create so many business opportunities in other sectors. Just optimizing management systems, because I don't know what the Baltics, but in Sweden, that's a market has been not very well preserved, so to say. So there are quite a lot of startups and also consulting companies helping the property owner to actually use existing software solutions out there. Because just because you have a property management system doesn't need to say that you populate it with correct data in a good data structure, with good quality, and it's updated. So I see quite a lot of kind of being a PropTech business, just helping the client to make the most out of all those different solutions out there. So that's actually one thing that Newsec is focusing quite a lot on. Not creating new products, but making the client to use the right product for the right reason, in the right order.
Thank you. Okay, so dear speakers, just wrapping up our discussion shortly, summarizing what is happening with the real estate market, data collection and analysis, and where should we focus and go. Magnus?
A quick roundup from my side is that property is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. It's growing. The downturn now makes it harder in some aspects, for sure. Yes, like always, there's up and downs. But the digitalization of real estate, and especially commercial real estate, has just started. There will be so many opportunities, and don't take my word for it, but ESG is a good starting point.
Juliane?
It's working. I think I'm coming out of this conversation with, I don't know, it was number 4 or something on your list, when, to understand the customer. Not to ask him, but to understand. This is my experience, and it's more and more to understand and go deeper and deeper. This I can share we have a secret mission in mission statement in UNTO to help clients to exit the real estate matrix. It's for me, it's going deep. You know, all this real estate, all the residential, pyramid illusion. You know, it's there. It's existing. People are involved in this, but more and more, I go deeper and understand what are the needs of the customer. It's deep, and this is what I'm drawing the passion and energy to building this. Means just to really to understand not how to make the money, but how to solve the real pain, how to make it easier, not to manipulate in an easier way how you can, I don't know, have a property, but actually how to make that it would be easier to own the property or use the property. And this is the passion I have, and I'm passing this over. And if somebody wants to talk with us, we're always available, and I help to guide you.
Yeah, so just to follow up on what you said, I think it's not only important, it is definitely probably the most important to understand your client, but then it's also very, very much important if you're working from the other side, when you work from the data perspective, to understand what's the value in your data, because just providing data, it's not the value itself. You have to communicate properly. Is it the value that, okay, I will help you to save money? Is it that I will help you to buy the biggest, the most profitable, whatever service? So you have to really know what are you trying to show with the data, because just to putting it nicely, it's not enough because people don't understand just data the way they look. You have to still communicate what's behind the data.
So thank you, Saule, Juliane, Magnus. And it seems that real estate is a big market, and for digitalization, it is really a great field, not fully developed. And from my point of view, data collection and analysis is a beauty and a beast. You need to follow under it modernization, but it is a great power. So go and take the value of it. Good luck and take care, all of you.
Thank you so much. You are so passionate, and it's so good when the moderator is the expert as well. So it's always interesting to listen to such discussions. A few remarks from the Rocket side, dear audience. It's so great to see that there is external audience besides the startups which reside now inside our PropTech Innovation Camp. So I would like just to remind you that tomorrow, the same time, we're having one more event as a part of the program, and it will uncover the secrets of the future office spaces. I believe that this is a very interesting topic, so I would like just to remind you and to invite you to come or to watch it on the YouTube channel. So I want to encourage you to subscribe to Rocket Vilnius YouTube channel. For the startups as well, one remark that you can recap all the valuable insights from the Magnus's presentation, from the panelists, and actually from the yesterday's opening event, by watching the material which is posted already on the YouTube. All our streams and as a part of the program will be streamed and then posted on the YouTube channel. So please use it, learn, and share with your friends as well the links and with your colleagues. So it's not some kind of secret. Good information, good insights should be spread and should be, the more likes you press, the more people will see us. So please do it. And see you tomorrow at the same time, at the same event. And thank you one more time for you guys, for the panelists, and for the wonderful moderator. So have a good day. And the links to the YouTube channel for the startups, so to save your time, are on the Slack. Please see my post.
And for our startups, we invite you all to the next hall, to the kitchen for